Welcome to Cards to Yards, brought to you by the Adventure Stadium and the Adventure Begins, located on 1488, right next to a big old movie theater. I'm Chaz Graves, and here with me today, Preston Laird and Mark Blair.
Hello, welcome back to From Cards to Yards, a podcast where we talk about all things sports and sports cards related. I'm, of course, with Preston. Preston, how are you doing? We're in the World Series right now.
Fantastic! It's enjoying the golden age of the Astros. It's a fun week. It doesn't get much better than this.
I was having an interesting conversation with some people at work about what makes a dynasty, and I wouldn't put that on the Astros right now because one, I think people are just not going to be able to get over 2017, but two, I think you have to win like actual championships and probably back to back to be able to achieve that. But it's pretty incredible. 3 out of 5 World Series is nuts to me.
It is. It's quite astonishing. As an Astros fan, a lifelong Astros fan for 40 years, it's something that you really should just savor, enjoy the moment. You need to realize that this isn't just going to come around every day. There's so many baseball fans, there's so many sports fans out there that would love to be in our position. What we've been enjoying the past 5-6 years in this city is unprecedented for us. We're the bad luck, the redheaded stepchild as far as sports go when it comes to Houston. I mean, the amount of turmoil and heartache and pain from rooting for Houston sports, this is just so refreshing and so entertaining and exciting, and it just makes you feel like a kid all over again, and it never gets old. So don't take it for granted. If you're an Astros fan, just soak it up, enjoy the moment, because who knows if we're ever going to see this again in our lifetimes once this team's finally run their course and such. And going back to the dynasty, I think had we made it to the World Series last year, it certainly would have increased the likelihood that we can call ourselves a dynasty. But I agree with you. I think if we were to go back to the World Series next year after winning this year, perhaps even if we didn't win it, I think we went to another World Series. 4 World Series in 6 years. If we win 2 of those, that's borderline dynasty talk, I think. But yeah, if we were to win another one next year after this year, absolutely, it's a dynasty.
Well, had Garrett Cole gone in against the Nationals, I think we would be talking about going for a 3rd World Series title.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
And who knows, that might have been the last good game that he would have ever pitched. So I had no idea. I'm not hating on the Yankees. I'm hating on them a little bit, but just no, it's fun, and we lived through the dread of the late '90s and early 2000s where the Braves just ripped our heart out all the time. And then the Cardinals and Pujols, and they're still trying to find where that ball landed on the moon from. And all that. So this is it's fun. And as a Houston sports fan, we've always been sort of foo-fooed and just like taken for granted and just really indifferent. I guess indifference is the major word, right? And now we're hated, we're despised. I was just telling you about a map where I saw where it's like 3 states out of the 47 in the United States are rooting strongly for the Braves, and for some reason Texas and Louisiana, which I get obviously, but then Delaware. So welcome aboard, anyone listening from Delaware.
Yes,
good job.
We welcome you, Delaware. Absolutely.
Yeah, but as we record this, the series is tied at a game apiece. One looked more like game 2 and 3 of the Red Sox series, so I was a little bit worried. But to get going up to Atlanta with a split, why not?
Heck yeah. After the feeling of that first game, we had so many opportunities to get back into that game and do something, and it just seemed like every break was going Atlanta's way that first game, and then the second game comes along. Fromber, going back to the first game, Fromber was just such a huge disappointment. He looked very nervous. I don't know what was going on with him, but I could tell with my minimal, experience as far as the techniques and the mechanics of baseball go, I could tell that his release point was off from the second he started pitching. With, like I said, I've never played baseball, but with the little knowledge I have, I can notice that he just wasn't releasing the ball properly. He wasn't hitting the zone like he was a few games ago. So that was a little concerning. So when we got a nice surprise start out of Urquidy, he was all over that strike zone, and I think that's the way we got to attack this Atlanta Braves team. We need to just attack him, go straight to the strike zone early in the counts, and then work around the batters from that point. I think too often in the playoffs, pitchers get a little bit too nitpicky on the corners and are trying to place the ball a little bit more where they should just challenge the hitters. And I think that's what they did in the second game. And the offense, of course, did what the offense does, and we came out ahead.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, the pitching, every pitch is just so polarized in the World Series because it's like the games can turn on a dime.
Mm-hmm.
And just it looked like nothing was going the Astros' way game one, and then everything was going their way game two. And we also talked about this off air, but it's like the moment where Charlie Morton left the game, and then they almost immediately said, "Oh, he broke his leg, a fractured, fracture." But then I saw it reported as broken, but he's not coming back, and that has to like just take the air out of their tires.
Atlanta kind of looked like they'd been there before in the first game, and then the second game they looked like a very inexperienced World Series baseball team. So that gives me a lot of encouragement for the rest of this series. I think the Astros are in a great position. I think at the very least we're going to take 2 out of 3 in Atlanta. Personally, I'm rooting for Game 6 because yours truly has tickets to Game 6 here in Houston. So,
that would be awesome.
I'm hoping for it. But if they win the next 3, I certainly won't be one bit disappointed.
Well, hopefully they just win one more and guarantee that Game 6. But it really has to be, just sticking it to Yankees fans that Altuve now is tied with Bernie Williams for second all-time in home runs, which is incredible at 22 because he just passed Jeter officially to become number 3, and now he's tied at 2. Obviously, I mean, this guy, like, it's ridiculous. If you just take away the whole tarnishment of 2017, first ballot Hall of Famer, that's another story for another day. But then,
I agree.
And then, as we talked about, Tucker and Alvarez are just playing like it's crazy.
Altuve's got to be the most taken for granted professional athlete in all sports. He gets the least amount of I'm not going to call it respect, but airplay for someone of the magnitude of what he's done to affect the game in his career. And he's still got a lot of years left behind him, when it comes to playoff records and such. The dude needs to get his due. He's a tremendous human being. I'm so happy that we've got Jose Altuve in Houston.
And just looking ahead to, I have no idea what they're going to do with Alvarez when they're playing in a National League park. No clue. But I need Greinke to get a hit, and I think if he does, it could be a home run.
Oh, gosh, that would be so sweet. And Alvarez, I think, is going to be in left field. Tucker's going to be in center, and Brantley's going to be in right. That's my personal prediction on the lineup tomorrow.
I mean, he's just too valuable to sit.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's no way he's no way he's going to be on the bench. There's no way.
Yeah, like even with, and this could be the very last year of not having a DH in a national park anyway. So
you hit the nail on the head. I think this is the last year we're going to have to worry about this nonsense.
But oh man, it's a great time. It's a good time, and it gives us something to do while the Texans are flailing, But and then now we have the Rockets starting, and it's gonna be a lot of growing pains, but fun so far. But it's gonna be a lot of growing pains.
Yes, it will.
Well, so we'll put our excitement for the Astros on hold a little bit, and we'll cover some industry news. And I wanted to give you a shout out because last time we talked about an upcoming auction for some Jordan shoes, and man, you nailed like the price. It was $1.47 million for those shoes from his 5th ever game. Just crazy.
Heck yeah, man.
Do you think anyone's gonna wear those shoes?
No, absolutely not.
If I did, I would make sure I was in some sterile environment and just do it for a second and shoot a jump shot and then put them back in the
Yeah,
case forever.
yeah. Even if I own those and I had all the money in the world, there's no way that I would ever wear such historical artifacts on my feet.
Yeah, that would be crazy. Well, yeah, and we talked a lot about auctions last time, and man, there's just a lot of stuff coming up, and just a lot going on this fall as far as auctions. But as far as looking into the future at actual cards, been a lot of industry news. I think was it our first episode where we were just going on and on about the whole Fanatics uh,
Yeah, our first
deal and
two.
the first two, probably, yeah. I mean, it's consumed the industry. So a little bit more news because one of the rumors had been Fanatics might scoop up Upper Deck because they're sort of like everyone's sort of like a lame duck right now because if all the Fanatics stuff comes to fruition, they're gonna own like every major license with every major um, players union for like the next 20 years or something
Yeah,
crazy like that. And again,
outside of soccer, yeah,
yeah. Well, right, and we discussed that about how
in hockey.
globally soccer. Yeah. Well, and mentioning hockey, that brings me to a point. I was kind of dreading not having upper deck hockey because
Yeah,
that's
me
sort of
too.
been a staple of my collection for since that's been going strong for 20 years, and I think Young Guns are probably one of the most iconic rookie cards. You have all the fancy ones now, but just like the whole like short print 1 and 4, and then you think about Ovechkin and Crosby and
Yeah,
Connor McDavid.
Young
So
Guns. Yeah, Young Guns are to Upper Deck hockey as Bowman First is to Bowman Chrome. That's the golden rookie when it comes to hockey. Even though it's not a high end product, it's a highly sought after subset. So yeah, I'm with you. I love the Young Gun subset. It's one of my favorites in all of sports.
so good news is we'll have those either way, no, regardless of what happens, because Upper Deck has retained its NHL license.
Yeah,
There's no details yet, but that's just really important to me because no matter what happens with Tops and baseball and football and basketball and Panini, and I just at least there will be something for me to grab onto just to
yeah.
retain some nostalgia going forward. And I
It,
think stuff's going to work out for collectors. I mean, I think we're not privy to what Fanatics is really planning and what's going to happen to both Tops and Panini, but Upper Deck's been one of the most stable flagships in the hobby for 2 decades. Just
yeah,
Upper Deck hockey, that release, Series One, Series Two update, and it does give a little bit more stability to a hobby that's seen all these massive shakeups due to those pending Fanatics licensing agreements. So
mhm.
I'm glad as a fan that that's happening. We don't talk about hockey a lot. We'll probably get into some Ovechkin talk later in the year as he
Yeah.
as he just puts up these historical numbers. But because I've complained about Houston not having a hockey team here, it's kind of harder for people to get into it, especially in Texas.
It is.
But so that's some good news, at least from my perspective. I like legacies, and I'm glad to see Upper Deck is going to retain that NHL license. Um, and Panini has to be scrambling at this point too, because who knows what's going to happen with all that. I mean, their football products are just like so hot right
Yeah.
now, so they probably don't even want to think about what's going to happen the next few years. They scooped up a license sort of out from underneath Tops, and that was WWE. So
Yeah.
more of sports entertainment. I personally love wrestling cards; they're a lot of fun,
Yeah.
and I watched the Crown Jewel live from Saudi Arabia last week, so I've been getting a little bit back into WWE and wrestling. But I just thought that was a really interesting move because it was something I didn't even think about. And Topps has held the WWE rights for 16 years, going back to 2005.
Wow.
And Panini scooped it up. And not only did they scoop it up, they've already announced that, oh yeah, next February we're going to have WWE Prism. So
Oh yeah.
they're already like ready, yeah. And
Well,
they'll probably, yeah.
when they acquired UFC earlier in the year, I mean, it was just that quick as well. I mean, I heard 1 month they acquired UFC, and like 3 months later, Prism UFC's coming out, and it was on fire. So You know, WWE is not going to be the draw that your UFC is going to be, but still, Tops is going to feel that. It's going to hurt them because it's a niche market, but it's a multi-million-dollar niche market.
Yeah, and even though this is a sports related sports card show, I think the entertainment
Hey,
licenses are
who said
important.
who said WWE is not a sport? You don't want
Oh,
somebody to come over and wallop you upside the head, do you?
well, I mean, I'm sure depending on what material the chair's made out of,
There you go.
if I feel it coming, if it's, but no, there was one time where back in college, I made the mistake of saying wrestling was fake, and
Yep.
a guy was doing a wrestling show, and he had me come on, and I ran through some drills, and I got body slammed, and I've never called it fake ever since. I call it, I like if we're having a serious conversation about it, I will say that the outcomes are scripted, but
But
those
not
guys,
yeah.
but
Excellent choice of words.
athletically incredible talent, and I would not be able to do what they do. In
No.
my mind, I was already going to start talking about Garbage Pail Kids, and so that's
Uh,
probably why. But I was just going to say I think Tops has Garbage Pail Kids, Star Wars, and they had WWE. So, but yeah, just talking about Tops from a licensing standpoint, they may feel that or they may not because they obviously have soccer, and we'll just see what sports wise happens. But I think it is a great grab by Panini, especially going from having the UFC licensing, going from mixed martial arts to the sports entertainment wrestling of WWE, and then
yeah.
mentioning as far as Upper Deck goes, they picked up the AEW All Elite Wrestling license that they're starting to incorporate into their e-packs. So
Yeah.
and AEW, if you follow wrestling, is WWE's number one competitor, at least from a TV market standpoint. So
Yeah.
that is it's something to keep an eye on, and it's fun. I mean, cards are fun. That's why we do this. So, but yeah, those are a couple little news tidbits there that could be pretty big down the road. The licensing thing is not something as a collector that adds any fun to it, but it does affect our collecting and what we
Yes.
can buy down the road. So, uh, speaking of collecting, so something happened in the NFL last week, and that was Tom Brady threw 4 touchdown passes, which happens all the time, right? Like, oh, blase. But
Yeah.
one of those touchdown passes was his 600 touchdown pass, and 3 of those touchdowns were caught by Mike Evans, and it just so happened that on the one that was Tom Brady's 600 touchdown pass, which has never been done before by a quarterback, obviously. And at this point, he's just setting, higher bars for people as they come in.
Yeah.
Um, Mike Evans gave it to a fan,
Yeah.
and believe it or not, and the ball was an estimated value of $100,000. And believe it or not, the fan gave it back. So kudos to that fan. And I was reading a little bit about like the prize package, for lack of a better word, that he's going to get for that, and it
Yes.
includes several game used helmets and jerseys signed by the goat and tickets and who knows what else. But that's good. I'm glad that that happened, and who knows what his actual cut, like if that was like $100,000 auction item, who knows
Well,
what the fans cut would have been anyway. So
yeah. Here's my opinion on the situation because it goes a little bit deeper in the rabbit hole. Now, after the fact, after this fan gave the ball back and they negotiated the deal, he gets the remainder of this season and next season tickets. I think it was like 5 autographed items, including game worn cleats from Mike Evans, a couple of jerseys from Brady, a helmet. I don't know if they were actually game worn because they didn't specify that, but we know for sure Mike Evans game worn cleats were part of the deal. Here's the deal: after all this took place, Tom Brady was speaking to other teammates and telling them how dumb this guy was for giving up the ball, or this person. I don't know
I
if
did
it was
not know that part.
okay.
Yikes.
That ball, I can 1,000% guarantee you, is worth way more than $100,000. They're estimating minimum 500,000 on that ball. So what it's done is in the future, if there's a historic baseball or whatever that a fan gets, then if you're that fan, hold on to that ball, hold on to that piece of history. You get fair market value for it. These guys are millionaires that are getting paid to play a game, and you got to do what's best for you out there. I'm all for goodwill, being the good guy, doing what's right. When these professional athletes, they know that they're pulling one over on you, that you're not getting fair market value. That's just wrong. So hey, if you're ever at a game, you get a really important piece of history, hold on to it, and see what the fair market value is. Because if they really want that ball, they could have got that ball. Doesn't matter if it goes for $500,000, $1 million. They're gonna have it. They're gonna put it in the Hall of Fame. So hold on to your balls.
And the last time I remember anything like that happening was the Barry Bonds ball. And
Yeah.
then I think it ended up being bought by Todd McFarlane,
Yeah.
who's from my nerd background.
Yeah, McFarland pretty
Creator.
much bought every milestone home run ball there was from McGuire and Sosa.
Wow.
Most of them in the $1 million to $3 million range.
Wow. And and there was the whole like vote what to do with it and talking about asterisks and all kinds of stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't know. You're right. I mean, I would say hold on to it and get a true value. I did not know that Brady made those comments, and that's unfortunate. So
Yeah.
but yeah, well, hopefully the guy was happy with what he
I mean,
got.
come
So
on, dude. You still autograph jerseys and helmets from Brady and stuff. I mean, that's going to be worth tens of thousands, but it's certainly not worth hundreds of thousands or $1 million like what I think that ball's worth.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
especially if it's authenticated and goes to a proper auction house. Yeah, it's
Hmm.
But oh yeah, and then by the way, there was a game and Tampa Bay won again, and they thrashed the Bears 38-3. And Justin Fields looks good one week and then not so hot. He is a rookie, but
Yeah.
three picks and two more turnovers on fumbles. Yeah, Bears were pretty rattled in that game.
Yeah, they were. I don't get too
Uh,
concerned about rookies turning the ball over. All you got to do is look at history, and Peyton Manning had one of the worst seasons in the history of quarterbacks, and then comes back after that and has a Hall of Fame career. So a lot of people are really quick to judge these rookies.
oh yeah, um, and at the end of the day, it's all about growth because I don't think the Bears expected to do anything this year. So,
No,
but speaking of
who is
quarterbacks,
growing?
yeah, oh yeah. No, we keep talking about like waiting for a sophomore slump on Joe Burrow. I don't think it's going to happen. So, uh, Cincinnati beats Baltimore 41-17. Burrow over 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. Baltimore's secondary is just so hit and miss. Like last week, they shut down Justin Herbert, and then against the Bengals, they look like the Burrow was just slicing and dicing and do whatever he wants. So
Yep.
Bengals improved to 5-2, and the Ravens, who have had just some of the best games in the NFL this year, they dropped to 5-2. So
Yeah.
yeah, crazy.
I mean, Burrow, what can you say? And I think I've said this on some prior shows. Anyone that'll listen to me, Burrow's a better quarterback than Herbert. He's going to have, I think, a better career than Herbert. He's got some tremendous weapons. Jamar Chase solidified his number one seed for rookie of the year with a 200-yard plus receiving game. I mean, dude is an absolute stud. I mean, Jamar Chase. What more can you say about this kid? He is a phenom. If he stays healthy, he's a shoe-in for rookie of the year. Joe Burrow's doing what Joe Burrow does. What he did in college 2 years ago will probably never happen again. I mean, just the absolute best season in college history. I mean, we've had people from Houston like Klingler and Case Keenum that set records in college and this and that, but there was just something different about Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's a special athlete and a quarterback, and he's going to be here for a long time setting records.
Yeah, and like you mentioned with Chase, it just comes down to health. If
Yeah,
these guys stay healthy, I mean, football is a violent game, and
yeah.
just wear and tear is real, and we'll
Takes
just
a
see.
lot of
But
luck.
good on the Bengals right now,
Yeah,
five and
man.
two. So
I'm glad the Bengals are great. I've never been a big Bengal fan, but I'm kind of a fan of theirs now. I'm really rooting for them.
and then Now, on the other hand, the Titans, they kind of shocked the Chiefs a little bit, 27-3, and it's so surprising because fewest points the Chiefs have scored since they've had Mahomes, and their fewest points in 9 years. I think they got stomped by Denver 9 years ago
Yeah,
and put up 3 points as well. But
yeah, it
so
was the
they,
first time they've
yeah,
never scored a touchdown under Mahomes.
wow. So this is like a fifth year slump or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, I think Mahomes will be fine. I think the Chiefs will be fine. But it is a little surprising to look at those standings and see them 3-4 right now.
Yeah, yeah, that is a little surprising, but really, this paper to me I mean, this game to me on paper, uh, it screamed Titans win, and I don't know how many people out there picked the Titans, but I just had a good feeling that the Titans were going to win this game, so I wasn't completely shocked that they won. A little bit surprised by the disparity in score and how they shut the Chiefs down completely. But overall, I think the Titans are a solid team, offensively, defensively. I mean, they got the best running back on the planet, and he may be the best running back in history. Okay, that's how good Derrick Henry is. It is absolutely filthy what he's doing to defenses on a weekly basis. What he's doing, running backs just don't do. I mean, they'll do it for a couple of years, but they don't do it 4 years, 5 years in a row. You just don't see it. I mean, this guy is dominating the game like no running back that I've seen in my adult life.
Especially when he plays the Texans.
Yeah,
Like it's
right.
just he just he's tears up our defense. He's pretty incredible. And that's one of those guys where you kind of wonder from the sports card market, you know, if you were going to start investing in non-quarterbacks, I think that's a guy. But being in the Tennessee market, it just, if he played for the Cowboys or something, it'd be a
Yeah.
different story. I think from just a popularity standpoint, and then that secondary card market. But
Well, if the Titans were to go to a Super Bowl, let's say soon this year, or whatever, then his cards would have a immediate boost. I would say 100% boost overnight if they were to make it to the playoffs. But yeah, if you're looking to collect somebody that's not a quarterback, he's at the top of the list. Absolutely.
if they do go to the Super Bowl, they just need to remember to throw it to a taller wide receiver on the last play, and then they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Um, Hey, so we don't really want to
Hey.
talk about the Texans right now. But I will give a shout out to a former Texan and University of Houston player, Case Keenum.
Yeah.
He returned to QB1. He was starting for the Browns. So the Browns have had a meh year so far, and Baker Mayfield was out with the injury. Case Keenum leads Cleveland to a 17-14 win over the Broncos.
Yeah.
And we talked about this last week. The Broncos have lost 3 in a row, and now they've lost 4 in a row. So after starting 3-0, they're now 3-4. Browns improved to 4-3. But I've always liked Case Keenum. He just seems like a stand-up dude.
Yeah. Case Keenum, he's a Houston treasure. He'll always be loved here. So I'm always rooting for Case Keenum. I've actually got a couple of his rookie autographs myself. So but overall, this game was just a battle of futility. It was one of the least engaging games that I could say that happened for the week. I watched the game and it was like nails on a chalkboard. That's that kind of game. I mean, Case is okay in a pinch, but his best days are past him, and with all the injuries on both teams, man, that was an ugly game.
I just really wanted to give out a shout out to someone associated with Houston football. So
Yeah.
rather than talk about the Texans, we'll just
Hey, I'm all for not talking about the Texans. If we don't say another word about the Texans, unless he who shall not be named gets traded, then then yeah, I really don't care if we speak about the Texans.
yeah. When who you aren't trading is a bigger story than what you're doing in the field, you got problems. So
Yes.
with that being said, let's just move to NBA. Why don't we?
Yeah.
Where the Rockets will probably have more wins than the Texans by the time anyone listens to this recording. Hopefully, so. Uh, but so we had talked. You nailed the whole thing about Jordan shoes. how much they were going to make in the auction. And then when we talked about sports last time, we kind of gave like the top players in the NBA to watch this year. I think
Yeah.
my number one was Steph Curry, and then in the second game, he had a perfect 25-point first quarter.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Warriors are currently off to a hot 4-0 start. I mean, he's
They're
back.
looking good.
Yeah, man, he's in top form. It'll be interesting to see when Klay Thompson comes back, how that goes.
Yes.
Because
Right.
that's just such a weapon that has just been sidelined. And I don't like, Houston teams historically have always had injuries and no one ever really gives us credit for playing through injuries. Just like, talking about the Astros earlier, it's like, oh, by the way, we don't have Verlander. Now we don't have McCullers. We haven't really had Greinke. So I don't want to give the Warriors too much credit. But I will say that it's impressive that they're able to look like a contender again without even getting Klay Thompson back yet. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm impressed.
but yeah, that performance against the Clippers, just 25 points in the first quarter. I mean, the guy, he ended up with 47, I think, or 40 something. But
Yeah.
it is crazy. Like he's just such a pure
He's a living
scorer.
legend. I mean, he's as good a point guard as we've ever seen.
And
Amazing.
then I can't remember if this next guy was on my list or if he was an honorable mention, but John Morant. Early on, look, it's very, very early, okay, but he is currently leading a scoring at 30.5 points a game, and he's just such a
Yeah.
dynamic guard. He's
I
just
mean,
so good.
we both talked about John Morant and Zion last show, and I think we both agreed that John Morant's got the brighter future. At least I did. I thought John Morant was going to come out and have a phenomenal season. So I'm not one bit surprised that he's leading the league right now because he's just he is a true generational talent. I know we've talked about using that word loosely, but I think he's the real deal, and he's gonna show people.
Oh, I think so, and he's definitely showing it early. And more props to you. You mentioned Jalen Green to put on your list to watch, and
Yeah.
it took him all of what 3 games to set a Houston Rockets rookie record for three
Yeah.
pointers in a game. He went
Uh-huh.
eight for 10 from the 3-point line, finished with 30. Unfortunately, they lost 107-97 to the Celtics. But as we mentioned, it's going to be growing pains, but it should be
Yeah.
some fun. It should be some fun growing pains.
I think he was one away from tying the all around rookie record, if I'm not mistaken. But he's kind of off to a shaky start. He's not shooting the ball real well. He's shown flashes like in that game, of course, but he's young. Wait till he gets his feet under him and gets a little more experience. But the his ceiling is tremendous, and I look for nothing but great things out of him going forward.
Yeah, and still not that this means a whole lot, but still Vegas odds to be the front runner for rookie of the year. So
Yeah.
that would be nice. But just watching this young team develop, um, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And I think they have a really solid nucleus, and people forget about Eric Gordon, but I think he does provide that veteran presence off the bench, the capability to score 25 at any given moment, and
Yeah, he's
just be
always
interesting.
been that six man kind of glue that holds the team together kind of guy, and I do love his veteran presence. I mean, they have no veterans on that team virtually, so I mean he's it as far as the go to. So yeah, I agree. He's a huge part of this team going forward, and looking forward to seeing him grow.
And then another team that's off to a surprising 4-0 start are the Chicago Bulls. And they recently acquired Lonzo Ball and DeMar DeRozan in the offseason. Those
Yeah.
guys look to be a great fit so far.
Yeah, it does. I haven't seen a whole lot of those guys on the floor this year, but I've read a few articles, and it looks like they made one of the moves of the offseason acquiring those two.
And I've had a friend who he's always referred to DeMar DeRozan as Mr. Basketball, just like one of those guys, silky smooth, can create his own
Mhm.
shots, score at will. And
Highly
then
underrated.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then already going into that solid Bulls nucleus they already had, just a team to watch early on.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately with sports, There's always drama. So this week's drama comes from Philadelphia. 76ers are off to a so-so 2-2 start, but they're without Ben Simmons. So this is
Yeah.
like a whole thing. Of course, the 76ers have the Rockets' former GM mastermind, Daryl Morey, and now, and a coach in Doc Rivers, who it may be sort of like it's just a stalemate chess game right now. And it'll be interesting to see where Ben Simmons goes. But if I'm being honest, I hope the Rockets stay out of that trade talk.
Oh, 1000%. Heck no, man. I do not want Ben Simmons. I think mentally he's just done. He's checked out. I don't know what his future holds. Who knows if he's ever going to have a solid career going forward even after this. I mean, this could be career ending. I'm not even kidding you. This kid's head is so messed up from the media and his poor performance in the playoffs and everything. I mean, who knows what direction it's going to go, but I feel bad for the 76er fans out there because they're kind of just in Ben Simmons limbo world right now, and that's not fair to the fan base. Ben Simmons and the organization, they need to come up with something and part ways and just have a solution to this situation. It'd be best for everyone involved. The longer it draws out, I just don't think it's healthy for anyone.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and it's one of those we've had weird situations in sports this year.
Yes,
Whether it's
I
just
agree.
just unprecedented type stuff, whether it's the John Gruden and leaving the Raiders, or Kyrie Irving being sidelined for the Nets. Just
Yeah.
Philadelphia is not a team that needs this scrutiny right now. So
No.
I think they need to move out of that situation as fast as possible. But has anything else from the NBA caught your eye so far this early?
Um, Not really. The only thing I've been kind of focused on is some Rockets games. I haven't. Now I have watched a few Golden State games as well. Now I did notice that Anthony Edwards is off to a pretty darn good start. I think he's averaging somewhere in the mid upper 20s. He's had a couple of games where he hasn't shot, the ball too terribly well. But Minnesota has come out the gate not looking too shabby with his help.
Yeah, it's the Timberwolves certainly did a number on the Rockets, to be sure.
Yeah. But
But
as far as second-year players go, I don't think there's a lot of players that are playing better than Anthony Edwards right now.
oh yeah, no, that's a good point. Like yeah, he's come out just strong start, and there's so many young and talented players in the NBA. It's fun to watch, man. So
Yes, it is.
we'll pay attention to that moving forward. But let's talk about cards. Let's talk about athletes on tiny pieces of cardboard. What do you got for the upcoming weeks coming out
Yeah,
soon?
well, there's some staples in the hobby that are coming out this week. Number one on the list going to be Topps Update, and it's going to be your first look at some of the younger prospects in the league. Whether or not the checklist is something that we're going to look back at and say, "Oh, that was an amazing set," is yet to be seen, as is the case in most of the Topps Update releases. Going back to the Mike Trout Altuve rookie update release, with the all-time, most expensive Topps update set ever made. I think a wax box of that is somewhere in the $15,000 to $16,000 range for one box of update. 10 to 15, somewhere around there. But
Well, speaking of update baseball, there's always one series of tops from each year that seems to like hit as far as having really desirable rookies. And from a collector slash investor perspective, it probably doesn't hurt to pick up a box of tops update and just put it in a safe dry closet somewhere. because
absolutely,
because it's one of those things where it's like, well, if something's going to go up, that's got a really good chance. But I'm excited about it. Uh, you know, f- the design for tops, it's not one of my favorites, but it's kind of growing on me, to be honest. And
yeah.
wrapping up their flagship with a 330 card update base set. And one of my favorite things about tops is they really play off the nostalgia factor. And we, of course, are in their 70th anniversary, so they have all these parallels, and '86 Topps design, which everyone loves. But one
Yeah.
of the things that piqued my interest when I heard about this set a couple months back was the insert set, black gold, because Topps black gold was one of the first insert sets I remember.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
I'm looking at the
Absolutely love black
design.
gold.
I'm looking at the design of the Tatis Jr. and it just uh, invokes so many memories as a collector, and it just looks fun. I mean, Topps is fun. We've talked about this before. It's affordable. I mean, we're talking like 14 cards per pack and 24 packs per box. You know, that's unbelievable nowadays, where you have like whole boxes that are 7 cards or less
Yeah.
in some cases. So I just I think that's fun. And as far as rookies, yeah, I mean, it would have been nice to have a Wander Franco, but I think that especially with all the Fanatics news and stuff, and the future being uncertain for Topps as far as baseball goes, after a few years from now, why not just hold Wander Franco and have like that big banger of a rookie card in Series 1 for 2022? And that's
Yeah.
exactly what they did.
Yeah. That's what they're doing. No doubt in my mind. And we have so much in common, Mark, when it comes to our memories about collecting, because that Topps Gold, it is seared in my mind. I can remember the first time that I looked at, laid eyes on it and thought, wow, that is, really, really cool. And so I love that they're bringing that back. It's a phenomenal insert, and I hope to get some myself because it kind of touches my nostalgia, chords in me, and I'm looking forward to trying to grab a couple of those myself. We've also got Absolute Football that came out this week as well. It's 3 mini boxes per master box, and you're going to get 3 autographs per box or memorabilia. Really cool product, fantastic looking cards in that set. And then we've also got, for the very first time ever, Recon Basketball. That's a set that's only been available in Chronicles for the past couple of years. So a Chronicles exclusive now has its own, and that's Recon Basketball. Come get yours this week. It's a fantastic product.
Now, is Recon, is that finishing up last season, or is that going to be the 21-22
It's
season?
it's 2020 21, so it's
Yeah.
still last year's rookie crop, not this year's rookie crop.
Yeah, with all the supply chain stuff, it's been just a real funky release year. And
Yes.
Upper Deck still, they've been going back to the hockey at the top of the show. They've been having to change their lineup and cancel some products and push stuff back, and
Yeah, I think they
so all
canceled
around.
Allure, they
Yeah.
canceled Legacy, if I'm not mistaken. They canceled a couple of different hockey products just because of supply issues. They're shipping and supply issues are a problem across the board. I don't care what industry you're in right now.
Yeah.
We're experiencing it with our expansion at the shop. We've got a few things that have been delayed for a month to 2 months because of what's going on with the supply chain.
Yeah, everyone I think as collectors was affected by the shortage of top loaders and then just inventory in general. But now we're getting to the point where it's like, oh, if cards weren't made yet, yeah, they're probably going to be delayed. So
Yes. Yeah,
same thing
it's
in the
crazy.
comic. It's same thing in the comic book industry. Just seeing like publishers going, hey guys, please bear with us. This week's issues are going to be delayed because we ran out of paper. It's just
Yeah.
something I never would have thought of before.
Yeah.
So, but well, no, the fun is always, Preston, and we'll keep people updated on these releases, and we'll see how this NFL and NBA season work out, and most importantly, we're gonna see if the Astros can get some redemption, and it may not be from really any of the rest of that heat map, but we're gonna win it for Delaware. How about that?
Heck
Astros are gonna take
yeah.
it all for Delaware. Speaking of redemption, we're going to end with our Adventure Stadium glossary term of the week, and that's going to be redemption card. So, a redemption card is a card you get when a product has been packaged up and shipped out to collectors, but maybe an autograph card is not back from a player, or there's a draft pick that has not cleared rights yet. You'll sometimes get a redemption card, and it'll say, hey, mail in this card, and we'll send you another card in a few months when it's ready. It's a placeholder card, and randomly placed in the packs can be redeemed for the actual card when it's available. The first redemption card, just real quickly, that I remember is the Shack from Upper Deck, like the motion Shack. And
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the first one you remember, but that was the first big one I remember.
Yeah. Matter of fact, that is the first one I remember. There were several other products that came out shortly after that that also had redemptions. There was a lot of football product early in the game. I can remember when like Clinton Portis was a rookie. That that season for some reason sticks out with a lot of redemptions, and redemptions are an unfortunate necessary evil in this industry, and really the majority of the time the reason why you have to have a redemption is because the specific player that you were to receive an autograph from did not return their autographed merchandise in time for it to be inserted in the product. So if you got an issue with that, usually it's because the player was dragging their feet and didn't get the product back on time. um, Times can vary from a few weeks all the way up to a few years on some of the products out there. I've gotten stuff back from Leaf in a matter of weeks, and then I've had stuff at Panini for multiple years. So it's kind of a crapshoot what you're going to do. A lot of people in the industry, it doesn't bother them a whole lot. It just is. It's just part of collecting, and on occasion you might get something extremely rare, highly valuable that you might get a little antsy about because it's only a redemption. But hang in there, you'll get it back eventually.
And you also can't insert a dinner with King Griffey Jr. or Derek Jeter into a box of cards. So for some of the super high end stuff, I've seen like tickets for that type of stuff. So
Yeah,
obviously
yeah,
that would have to be a redemption.
that would be amazing.
But and just one key bonus tip about collecting, especially older wax, always check and see what cards were redemptions and if those are expired or not. That's something I've learned in the
Yeah,
past, where it's like you get really excited because you get one RPA, which was another glossary term, rookie patch auto, and
yeah.
then it's a redemption that expired 7 years ago.
But
Womp
you know what,
womp.
Mark? Even
Yes.
then, even if you've got something that's a redemption that's 8 or 9 years old, still submit it. Okay, I'm not going to guarantee that you're going to get that card, but there's still a chance that you're going to get that card. And if you don't get that card, they will give you something really good if it's a really good card. So even if you hit something and it's years down the road, don't be discouraged. Go ahead and redeem that code and see what happens. You may be surprised.
That is a great point. I've seen a lot of YouTube videos where it's like send in an old redemption and here's what they sent me, and
Yeah.
it's cool, man. So good for the distributors on doing that, because yeah, it's disheartening to get an expired
Well,
redemption card.
not to be long-winded on the subject, but it's got me thinking. Uh, for me, I have a real problem with expiration dates on redemption. I don't understand why they have expiration dates. I mean, look, they're cards. They're this big. If you can't find the storage facility to hold these things in
Yeah.
for a few years, I don't understand the logic in that. So that's the one really big issue I've got with redemptions. Why in the heck would you have an expiration date on something when it's costing you $1,000, $2,000 for this box of cards? Why are you going to take that excitement away from future generations that may want to open this stuff down the road and it's expired? I mean, come on, guys, get your stuff together, extend these expirations. 10 years, something. I mean, come on, 2 years, that's not enough. Not when you consider the state of the hobby, the investments that people make, the boxes that they set aside for later. It's just not right. Do something.
Especially when it's a serial number card, that always strikes me as odd. It's like
Yeah.
you printed them out. There's a
Yes.
finite number. If it was like
Right.
made to order or something, okay, maybe. But yeah,
Well, they're contracted for every piece of cardboard that get in your hand that says redemption. So I don't see why they couldn't fulfill any of them. There's no valid excuse that you can give me as to why you can't redeem this card, 3.5 years from now versus 2 years from now.
excellent point. I mean, because especially now, people are putting so much money into this hobby. I mean,
Yes.
just throw it in the storage room somewhere.
I mean,
But
could you imagine? Let's say just for instance, 15 years from now, you buy a box of 2020, 2021 basketball, and you get a LaMelo Ball, 1 of 1
Yeah.
redemption, and you're gonna tell me that I just spent $2,000 on this box, and you're not gonna give me this card that's probably worth $100,000? I mean, come on, man. No
Right.
way. You'd see somebody that was losing their mind if something like that ever happened to me.
Well, this episode has reached its expiration date, so
Yeah.
don't get too upset because we'll be back next time. But
Right on.
for Preston, I'm Mark. This has been Cards to Yards, part of Adventure Stadium, and Adventure Begins Comics and Games. Back to you, Chaz.
On behalf of myself, Preston, and Mark, thanks for watching Cards and Yards, brought to you by the Adventure Stadium and the Adventure Begins Comics and Games, located on 1488 next to a big old movie theater. We'll see you guys next time.